So, menus. We got ideas, we got feelings, we got expectations and standards. Um, I'm gonna just go in on
Go
this.
in on it.
So, the thing that drives me up the wall the most at a restaurant is the tyranny of choice.
Oh, tell me about it.
Give me a menu that has a few choices, maybe even a few like tweaks that I can make to a dish, and I'm good. I do not like going to a place that has 800 items on the menu. If I am flipping page after page after page, one, I know you don't do anything all that well because nobody can specialize in anything and nothing is really unique. And some of my favorite places to go have these menus, but they became my favorites before I understood what it was like to work in a kitchen. So, Cheesecake Factory, menu absolutely too big.
They have 80 different kinds of cheesecake alone that you can order. Like,
Which, okay, you Cheesecake Factory, fine. But why do you have 17 pasta dishes, 35 appetizers? You got a Cajun pasta, you got some 7 or 18 different hamburgers, chicken sandwiches. Like, let's pare this down a little bit so that your cooks can actually like be great at something. Do I still go to the Cheesecake Factory? Hell yeah. But I only get one thing.
I get the cheesecake myself.
Well, if I'm gonna get food, I get this like garlic farfalle something, and then I get the cheesecake. But but who else has a fucking massive menu?
Well, Golden Nugget,
Like,
we went to Golden Nugget not too long ago, like last summer, and we had everybody there. We had all the kids there, and the
yeah.
menu was just ridiculous. It's like you should not be ordering spaghetti at Golden Nugget. Now, Golden Nugget, for those of you who don't know, it's a regional. Well, it used to be a chain. There aren't as many of them now, but in Chicago, Golden Nugget was like our local version of like a Denny's or something like that.
Um,
But I mean, their pancakes were always subpar. I never ordered them. I mean, the egg dishes were usually safe. But if you're ordering meatloaf at Golden Nugget, or if you're ordering a pasta dish or like stuffed mushrooms or something weird like that, don't do it. Like, I'll never forget the time I actually went to Denny's with my grandma one time when I was like 19. She orders spaghetti at the Denny's. Like, Grandma, Denny's can do hamburgers, they can do breakfast food. You don't go to Denny's for the pasta. And so what they do is they bring her a reheated plate of pasta. Like, they're not like fresh cooking this pasta because it
I
came at
can't.
the same, like within 3 minutes, we all had our pancakes and they put a plate of pasta in front of her. She very excitedly takes a bite. She's like, it's cold. I'll never forget the look of it's cold. They hadn't fully microwaved it. So they literally basically took a can of SpaghettiOs and like shoved it on a plate and then poorly microwaved it. So this is one of the reasons why we don't trust these menus.
No. Who else has like a I don't know, like the one place that I will go that has like pages and pages and pages and pages is when I go for dim sum.
Oh, well, that makes sense because they have to put pictures in
That's it.
too.
That's it. But like I can picture a restaurant, but I can't think of the name. But like all I'm saying is don't have 32 different cuisines, don't have 800 menu items. Focus something. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some standard hits from everywhere that you could just like put on your menu. You got a soul food menu, it don't need to be 32 pages long. It don't need to be 32 pages long. Now, if you got a buffet, okay, fine. You're gonna make a whole bunch of different shit. But if you ordering plates to order, you can't do all that shit. Like, come on. I do not believe somebody is sitting there making gnocchi next to somebody who's making meatloaf, who's cooking salmon on a plank, who's making fucking, I don't know, cheeseburgers burgers and chicken tenders and macaroni and cheese, and somehow you have a cold peanut noodle dish. Like, where?
Well,
What are
Little
you?
Bad
What
Wolf
are you
did that.
doing?
Remember, we went into Little Bad Wolf. They had hamburgers, they had tacos, and they had bao. And it's
Where did the bow come from?
first of all, I know it's two white dudes that are running this shit because only two white dudes would have the audacity to open up a hamburger joint and call it a gastropub, like, and charge $16 for that shit you can't even put into your face. But I remember when we went in there and I was like, there is no way that of these three, any of them are good. Like, they're all going to be mediocre because there's no way that you're going to have the same level of expertise in the Mexican, the Chinese, and the American style. Like, no. And this wasn't a fusion restaurant. It was a confusion restaurant.
Right.
It certainly wasn't a fusion restaurant. Like, why would I go to a gastropub for bao? Like, and we were just like, okay, I'll bite. Let's get some bao. It sucked.
Yeah.
They sucked.
And the tacos were on like cold flour tortillas.
Right. It's like you're gonna have the audacity to serve all this shit, and then you're not even gonna like gussy it up. I thought this was a gastropub, and it was like $15 for 3 tiny tacos or like 3 tiny bao.
Right.
I mean, come on, guys. But I mean, there are places who specifically specialize in one thing and still manage to fuck it up, like our friends over at Umami Burger.
So y'all, picture this. What was that? 2014.
Maybe 2015, maybe.
Um, yeah, it was probably 2015 because that's when I moved back in with y'all. So in 2015, I had the restaurant I was working at closed at. Oh, that's what it was. The restaurant I was working at closed in 2014, and I ended up moving to Umami Burger to be a prep cook while I was looking for a pastry job. And, like we were super excited. It was this like fancy burger place from California. They decided to open up a restaurant in Wicker Park. And I was like, okay. And this was when I was like into that like weird perverse kitchen culture where it's like, you feel like you're part of something just because you work there. I don't believe in that shit no more. But I was really excited to do it. And like we ground the meat in the walk-in. We like had special jackets. We made the pickles in-house.
And the
Like I
mustard
had
and
to
ketchup,
like,
or the ketchup at least.
we did. And then we also like I had to make cheese tots. Like with shredded potatoes, salt, pepper, and cheese. And I had to form them with my hands. So I was like, oh, this bitch is fancy. So, and then like we cooked the burgers on a plancha. And I was like, okay, cool. Now, the executive sous chef is a badass motherfucker. She can cook. The executive chef at the time, he was like new and he had like been on like some cooking show. I can't even remember his name. I think his name was Ted or something like that. But Chef Brooke was not to be fucked around with. And she came in there and she taught us. And I mean, she like taught us. And you know how like in a kitchen, they'll show you some shit one time and you got to know it. So that's kind of how she was. And I'm like writing in my notebook, like, okay, we do it this way. So she actually promoted me to the supervisor of prep before like we got our chefs. And I was like, cool, great. So then they're like, oh, we're having a soft opening for friends and family. Well, at the time, my only family here was Kimber and BK. So I was like, y'all want to come to this fancy ass burger place? And Kimber was like, how's the burgers? And I was like, well, the burger that I had was pretty good. And she was like, free food? I was like, yeah. She was like, fuck it, we'll make it to Wicker Park. That's far, but we'll go. I was like, thank y'all for blah, blah, blah. So they come in, and this is where I'm gonna turn story over to Kimber because I was in the kitchen. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh Lord.
So,
Well, so like a soft opening is really sort of like the preview period where if you fail, you're gonna fail in front of friends and family. They're gonna be like, "Good job, honey." It's sort of like a recital where it's like you're missing notes. Parents like, "She did it! Yay!
mhm.
Good for you, sweetie." So now, to be fair, this was free and they had a limited menu, and you could also get one free cocktail, and they had a legit bartender, okay? So they had and so I do appreciate the fact that they had a limited menu and it was 100% free. Now they made the mistake of giving you balls to vote with. So you had like a white ball or a black ball, and I was like, I don't know, y'all. I think this is a bad idea to literally get like you're as you're leaving, you're supposed to put your like yes or no ball in the various jars or whatever, something like that, to indicate whether you enjoyed the food, instead of
Oh,
having a very like significant survey, which is really what they should have done. Because I mean, we get there, it was like a Sunday around brunch time, and of course we have to go all the way the fuck to Wicker Park. That's far, but we get there, and it was very nice and posh inside, very nice modern style. They had servers running all over the place, and they were explaining how the service was going to run, and like, thank you for being part of our friends and family, and everything is complimentary, of course. And they're like, won't you please look at our drinks menu? And they had, it's fancy when they're throwing rosemary and some shit in there, because it's only ever like at the fancy places where the drinks are $16 to $18, where they're like, we're making elderberry simple syrup and garnishing it with rosemary. And that's literally what happened. Like, we both ordered a drink. The drinks didn't come until halfway through service, though, by the way. I'm not even sure if we got water. I don't know if I was trying to be so nice, but typically when I'm trying, I fail very quickly, because they're like, okay, so you can order, and of course, they didn't know who they were fucking with when they came out and say, we're umami burger, and our whole are you aware of the word umami? Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, they don't need to know that I lived in Japan for 2 fucking years, okay? But it's all right. It's okay. You can very condescendingly explain to me what you think umami means. So of course she's like, we believe in the 5 flavors, sweet, salty, savory, umami. And if you don't know what umami means that savory, like je ne sais quoi. That's just like umami. And for that reason, we make our own ketchup, and we're going to give you 3 different kinds of ketchup and our very own house-made aioli. And I'm like, okay, cool, come on. Like, BK always asks, he learned how to dip his fries in mayo when he lived in the Netherlands, so he always asks for mayo. He's like, yeah, I'll have some of that aioli. That aioli's looking great. Can I get a wee bit extra of the aioli so I can dip my fries in there? And of course she's looking at me what he's saying. Like, he'd like some mayo. You just get him an extra cup of mayo. He wants to dip his fries in there. So like, oh, the fries are all hand cut, and we make all of our burgers, and we grind the meat. And I was like, well, that's all fantastic. She's like, oh, and we only serve the burgers medium. And I was like, that's fantastic, because I love my burger medium, and I would have ordered it that way too. She's like, great. So we had a limited amount of options. I choose mine. BK chooses his. It's taken a while for the food to come, obviously, because it's a soft opening. They know they're not like having to do checks or anything like that, and like multiple people are coming by your table and dropping stuff off as it's ready. So the burger comes. Now it looks great. The bun was, I guess, toasted at some point, but the minute that I picked up the burger, I knew that something was wrong, because the whole bottom of the bun just started to disintegrate immediately. Robert, as a professional chef, what happened there?
well, I can tell you, them hoes wasn't resting that meat. They were
What
snatching
does
it right
that
off the
mean?
plancha.
What does it mean to rest meat, and why is it necessary when you're serving meat to order?
So when the meat is cooking, all the proteins are like super tight, and they're like pushing the juices out. When you have a medium burger, there's a lot of juice in that bitch. So if you set it down to the side, it'll rest, the proteins will relax, the juice won't run out, and you won't end up with a soggy bun.
Yeah, that's not what happened here. So So immediately I can tell that the bun was very fresh. I don't know, did they bake their own buns, or did they bring in like brioche buns or something like that?
We had a baker that brought them in every day.
Yeah, I mean, so it would have been, the bun was okay, but it really wasn't up to the challenge here. Now, normally what you can do to mitigate these issues is you can maybe use some of that house-made aioli to create a barrier, a moisture barrier. You maybe can slap a piece of lettuce, something on there to create a barrier. This is not what happened. So I immediately, I can see like the burger has already bled out everywhere. The entire bottom of the bun is frankly inedible at this point because it's just so full of juice now. Right. So I kind of like, I had to flip the burger upside down, kind of scrape off that nasty bun, and then you just got a pile of pink. It's like that, if you recall from, I do believe it was in Eddie Murphy Raw, where he talks about the difference between being the poor kid who doesn't have McDonald's and his friends who do have McDonald's, and like, we got McDonald's, and he goes home and cries, I want McDonald's, and mom's like, I'll make you a burger, shut up. And then she makes a burger and puts it on 2 pieces of white bread, and now you got pink wet bread. You're like, I love McDonald's. That's what is happening to me in real time, but at a fancy swanky place that's umami.
Right.
So I enjoyed the umami because whatever umami had been there done slipped out, completely overwhelmed the bread. I had to scrape it off. Now I've got a bun upside down with a piece of meat on it, and I'm like, am I supposed to eat this like this? And I'm like, surely, if I'm holding a burger upside down that's missing and there's just a pile of pink, wet, moist former bread, surely somebody will say something to me. They must have seen the look on my face, because it's very difficult for me to not emote. I must have had a rictus. I must have looked like the Joker, and I'm talking Joaquin Phoenix Joker, not even our friend Heath Ledger Joker. I'm talking full-on Joaquin Phoenix, incel, I will murder a bitch Phoenix. You know, that's what I'm talking about. That's the look I must have had, like. And eventually I had to start eating it with a knife and fork. And you know, there's a thing about handheld food. This is a New York, Chicago thing. New York likes to give us shit because we do have deep dish pizza here. Now, this is not Chicago style pizza. I don't care what anybody says. It is available in Chicago. We do not prefer it. It's for all y'all tourists to come here and force us to eat it 3 times a year when we don't want to, especially if we're lactose intolerant, like some people I know. But you have to eat that with a knife and fork because it's literally a fucking massive dose of cheese and sauce. That's what I had. I basically had a hamburger pizza here because it was overloaded. Everything was just going higgledy-piggledy, and I'm over here like, I'm feeling this, man. And at this point, like, the meat is cold and it's dry because all the juices are on my plate. So, like, you know, no, but the crazy thing is they could tell that I was having a really rough time of it. So when they came back, they were like, and I was like, do you have a comment card? And they were just like, ah! They're like, here's the bottles, get out, just put it in the thing, just I think they gave us a second drink, even though we were only supposed to get one. But I don't think that drink ever came. I'm pretty sure they offered us a drink, but I don't think we got it. Because even the first drink that we were supposed to get was like 20, 25 minutes before it finally showed up. And I'm like, if you guys have a limited menu, and I do believe there were 2 people working at the bar, but even if it's just one person, if your drinks are so complicated and require so much muddling and simple syruping and garnishing and macerating and straining and shaking, if every single drink requires 15 steps, you've got a problem. So what happened after I get, because like Rob was like, let me hear everything, and I was like, oh girl, whew.
Because I texted you, how did it go? And you were like, first I want to say thank you for inviting me to this. And I was like, okay, cool. You were like, The drink was nice. Like, I get the concept. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and you were like, I feel like people will enjoy it. And then I was like, okay, cool. So now give me the real shit. And she was like, you ready for the real tea? Here it goes. And you just was like, they didn't rest that meat. The bun disintegrated. I don't know what's going on with this meat or this bun, but they need to do something better. Like, and then like, I think y'all had the fries or something like that. You were like, the fries weren't even crispy. They weren't hot. They hadn't even put the salt on. And like, what is that ketchup? Why even make it? It doesn't taste like anything. Where's the umami?
I do recall saying, when you leave with umami, you goddamn well better ensure there were some glutamates in there. Like, there better be some Worcestershire sauce, some fish sauce, some Parmesan, some anchovy. Like, what? Like, these, when we say umami, we really mean glutamates, the things that make your food taste delicious and activates your taste buds and makes you want to eat more. So even the people who were giving the script about, do you know what umami is? And let me tell you what umami, like, they weren't even talking really about what umami is. They were just using a word that they cribbed from the Japanese, which they don't really understand, because if they did, that ketchup would have been good.
And the thing is, there were so many things there that did increase the umami, like the roasted tomatoes. But I don't think we made the ketchup from the roasted tomatoes because it would have been orange.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Why make your own ketchup? Nobody needs it.
It was so useless. I was like, girl, and the thing is, we never used it. We always like got Heinz. Like,
there's a reason why Heinz is number one. They have perfected it. It has the sweetness, the vinegariness. It's in balance, and it has that red tomatoiness. It has the body that you want. There are certain things that it does not make sense, even for a professional chef, to do. Make your own ketchup. Aioli, okay, fine. I don't give a shit if you want to make some. That's okay. Anybody can make aioli. Like, literally, you can do it in your blender. It's not hard. It's just mayonnaise with some garlic thrown in or some shit, you know, like throw some pesto in there. Aioli. But like puff pastry, no reason. There's no reason why you need to make your own puff pastry or your own phyllo dough or things like that. It's much better and like, even making your own pasta is a sometimes thing. Like, if you go to a restaurant and they make their own pasta, cool. But as a normal chef at home, there's no real benefit to doing it other than it's fun and you can get your family involved and it's cool for like once a year or something if you're making your famous lasagna. But like,
and it's fun when you're making ravioli with your best friend that one time because he discovered brown butter and sage.
Listen, that is a classic.
That was a good ass ravioli.
That was good ravioli though, and it was well worth the effort. But you know, I mean, the thing is, we've been to a lot of restaurants, and I think there's a reason why people in the know do not start restaurants. You can definitely tell when a restaurant has been started by somebody who just is a foodie and is passionate about food, because they don't know shit about anything. They focus on the wrong things and they take it so personally. So there was this one time I was in Rockford, Illinois with my friend Mark, friend of the show, also an attorney. And I was traveling. I was still a traveling salesperson at the time, selling court reporting or whatever. And I just happened to be in Rockford that day. So I met Mark for dinner and he's like, oh, they've apparently got really great German food here. So let's go and get some German food. I'm like, you better believe I want some Wiener Schnitzel right fucking now. Let's go. So we get there. The restaurant is completely empty except for us. I mean, granted, we were there a little bit early, but you would think for a world famous restaurant on a Thursday night, it would at least be some people there. And so I order the Wiener Schnitzel. It comes out, and I swear to God, it hadn't been seasoned. It was cold. It was tough. The Spätzle on the side was gummy and nasty. Like, I don't know what they did to that Spätzle. I honestly don't know what they did to it, but it was gummy. It was inedible. And then they never even brought me any mustard or whatever. Like, and so Mark was just looking at me. He's like, I can tell that this is not the Wiener Schnitzel of your dreams. I'm like, damn straight, it ain't the Wiener Schnitzel of my goddamn dreams. I don't know what the hell they did to this, but it ain't right. And I was upset because they really charged like $18 for this Wiener Schnitzel too. So eventually,
and it wasn't even in Chicago.
No, it's Rockford. And this is like supposedly some famous German restaurant that's been there for years and years and years. So the waiter comes over and sees that most of the plate has not been touched. And they were like, oh, did you not enjoy? How was everything tasting? And I was like, well, I'm going to lay it out for you here. It's not great. It's cold. It's tough. I'm not sure what's happening here. It's unseasoned. Also, the Spätzle is gummy and cold and overworked. I'm not sure. Something went wrong there. I don't understand the concept here. That's just, I'm sorry. Not great. 2 out of 5, I guess, you know. So they were just like, oh, and like they ran off. Like, and nothing happened for a while, but maybe 5 to 10 minutes later, the manager comes out. And once again, when the manager comes out, it's never because I've asked for it. I don't go Karen in a restaurant. I've been in food service. I don't like having to do this. But why are you this? Accountant says, I just want to let you know that we've never had a complaint. In all the years that I've worked here, in all the years that we've served this dish, we've never had a complaint. And I'm like, I'm looking around the restaurant. I'm like, yeah, they just don't come back.
Dragging.
And the lady was like, well, I'll take it off your bill. And I was like, damn straight, because I was going to challenge that if you tried. Like, girl, I ain't eating this. And it was just crazy because I'm like, this restaurant is completely empty. And there's a reason. Most white people, other than Karens, okay? Karens are a special thing. And if you want to call me a restaurant Karen, fine, you can. Because I guess in this particular subgenre, it would qualify. But I feel like I come from a different place than a normal Karen who's like, I came to Starbucks and I want you to fix me a drink just like Dunkin' Donuts. Or I came to a restaurant that literally only serves donuts and I'm mad because I can't get a vegan, gluten-free, non-donut dish. Like, I don't do stupid shit like this. I'm not entitled. But I do believe if I go into a German restaurant and you can't figure out how to make some goddamn Wiener Schnitzel, maybe don't be a German restaurant anymore. Because this is like a class. And if you can't figure out how to do Spätzle, and they didn't even know how to pronounce it, pronouncing everything. And I'm like, I'm not German. My friend has German ancestry, but he wasn't raised as a German. He was raised as a Filipino. So even we know, even if I'm not from Germany or have never been to Germany, I do understand how to pronounce the names of the foods, and I know what they're supposed to taste like. Okay. So to the owners of restaurants, please don't take it personally when I don't like your food, especially if I'm giving you constructive criticism on how to make it better. You should encourage people to tell you to your face what is wrong, because let's talk about kitchen nightmares. The reason that so many of these restaurants are failing is because white people at large, I mean, there is a small subsection of us who must be heard. But I would say 80% of white people will literally sit and be uncomfortable, unhappy, still hungry or dissatisfied with a dish, and they will either choke it down or they'll hide it under a napkin or they won't say anything. Or when the server comes over, they'll say, everything was fantastic, thank you. And they'll give them a great tip, which they should. You should always tip your server no matter what the quality of the food is, unless they fucked up the order. And even then you should still tip them because they're employees. Still tip them, but don't blame them for what happened in the kitchen. But I just don't understand why, when you actually tell somebody how they can improve, and I'm not getting mad. Like, I just, Robert has seen me. I don't get mad. I just very calmly express this dish. Like, this happened at that farmhouse place one time when I don't know exactly what it was that I ordered, but I was like, there's always one dish that you can tell if you order it, it's going to give you the story of the entire restaurant and what their concept is. This particular iteration of that restaurant was basically a circuit party that kept not quite happening because all the servers were gays. They were all twinks and they spent 100% of their time not doing their jobs. They were over here kikiing by the bar because it was a brunch place, so they had a full bar. They
Is
never
this the place next to the Anvil?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
this has been through 4 separate iterations in the last 10 years or so. Now it's a falafel place, but this is like this was when it was Reveille, I think, or Revival. It was called
Okay.
Revival. It was called Revival.
Okay.
Not like Revival Food Hall downtown, but same name. And these
Right.
guys, like, they had a small menu. They had a small footprint. The drinks were good, but I can't even tell you what it was that I ordered. But when I got it, I was like, because
Isn't that the French toast?
it wasn't French toast. That was M. Henrietta.
Oh,
This was
oh,
some
in
dish. I
Henrietta.
still can't remember. I blocked it from my mind because it was purely designed for Instagram. And I think this is the reason why this particular iteration of the restaurant failed. And we never went back after this time because I said, oh, this restaurant won't last. This is an Instagram place. And I literally said that to the chef. This is not the first time. Robert seen me do it too. But I came in and it's like there's a bunch of like microgreens on top of it. You're digging through, you're trying to find, like, are there eggs somewhere? Maybe. I'm not sure. Like, is there some chorizo in here? I guess. I can't find it. I'm not sure what's going on. It was like all in a weird combobulation and I wasn't sure how to eat it. And they came over and like, so how's everything do? Like, what do you think? And I was like, well, this is an Instagram opportunity. I'm not sure it's actual food. I'm not sure how to eat it. And I don't know where the chorizo is. So I just want to lay that out for you because I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. I mean, ultimately, yes, I did eat it. I still can't remember what it was, but I do know that it was literally created so somebody could take a picture and post it on Instagram because it clearly was not meant to be consumed by humans. And that's a key problem that I have with a lot of these trendy places, especially the places that will have a milkshake. And the milkshake is $26 because on top of the milkshake is 2 donuts, a hamburger, 6 pickles, like 4, like an entire order of fries, possibly like a bloomin' onion on top of it, you know.
That's the best description of a milkshake I've ever heard in my life.
There's literally a place downtown right now that my 19-year-old college student niece goes to frequently and will pay $15 for a shake because they put at least half a dozen donuts on top of it and a brownie and like a piece of cheesecake and like a cupcake on top of that. Like, guys, I understand it looks cute and cool, but this is not the way. Think like the Mandalorian, right? This
Seeing
is
shit like that makes me anxious. Like, it makes me anxious, and I'm not sure why. And maybe it's because I've like been in food service, and I'm just like thinking about the people who have to make this shit, the people who have to carry this shit, the people who have to clean up these dishes, and it's like, fam, like, what are you doing? Like, nobody wants to clean that fucking cup after you've smeared frosting down half the outside and rolled it in shitty candy.
Yeah, and then stick like 2 packages of Pokey on top of it too. Like,
And
first of all,
then
never waste
and then
Pokey.
stick a whole slice of chocolate cake on top. And it's a 10-layer chocolate cake. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
I mean, same rule applies to brunch places that serve those Bloody Marys. There is a place in Chicago that I have been dragged by one of my very aggressively white friends, where it's served in a glass mug, like those ball jar style mugs, but they have a handle. So it's Bloody Mary mix, and then there's 3 sliders rammed on top of it with a pickle on there, a full-size fried pickle. Like, guys.
So they put a lukewarm burger on top of a cold drink.
3 sliders. It was literally like 3 sliders skewered on top of a drink and then a big ass pickle. And then, like, I think there might have been other slices of different types of veggies on there too. And it's like, we did a whole ass burger kebab here and then rammed it into a drink. Like, what is this Frankenstein nightmare? Just because something can be done does not mean that it should be, people. Simplify. This is not the way.